Hey, this is Sam Leonard. Now, in today's video, what I'm going to be talking about is how I meditated every day for 1,000 days. And I'm going to be covering what happened, some of my insights and awarenesses so I can share with you, on your journey of meditation. So first of all, I'm going to be talking about the type of meditation, just to clarify this, that I'm talking about a normal silent meditation here, just you and yourself effectively, you and your mind, and not some sort of guided meditations or not an active meditation where you're actively trying to raise your vibration. I'm just talking about a normal silent meditation. Also, what I want to cover is a bit about how I might be meditating, because many people, when they start out, they're looking at how to meditate. A lot of people, quite frankly, overthink this. The best thing to do is just to start today. It's the best time to start anything. But by actively starting, then it's going to take a while for any sort of effect really to start to happen. So just by starting is really going to be the first thing to do. But there are different ways, different techniques to use to meditate. But ultimately what I do is I focus on the breath. By having a focal point, it gives the mind something to focus on, because when we start out meditating, our mind can be very active. It can be wandering all over the place, and I think this is probably why people give up, because they think it's not working, or they think it's taking longer than it should do. But really, we just want to focus on the breath, and in doing this, I just breathe in through the mouth, in through the belly breathing. In doing this, it gives, like I said, it gives us a focal point, but it makes us present. And this is really the aim here, is to be present. And in this way, we're training the mind. And many people are worried about, clearing their mind, and they're thinking about the fact that they're trying to think, not to think, etc. And it doesn't really work that way. The act of having no thoughts is a byproduct of being present. And by focusing on the breath, then this gives us something to focus on. And we can either just focus on it, or we can count the breaths. And there's lots of different ways, we can do that. But just focusing on the breath gives us a level of presence to, being in that situation, being there, meditating. Also, there's other techniques you can use. Like you can have a candle, you can burn incense. You can have your eyes half open. So for example, if you have a candle in front of you and you have your eyes half open, then it reminds us that we're there, that we're meditating. Because sometimes when we close our eyes, it's easier for the mind to wander. So sometimes by having our eyes half open and having some sort of a focal point, it keeps us present. The same with having a scented candle or burning some sort of incense. Again, it reminds us of the environment that we're in. It keeps us more present, and every time the mind wanders, we just bring awareness to that and just bring it back. Let the thoughts pass by and just bring it back to the present moment. And that's just really what we want to do. But I just keep it simple. Sometimes I experiment with different things. Obviously, this is really about understanding what works for you. This is why it's good just to get started, and by doing that, then you can see what works for you, what is most effective for you, and it might change over time, as you progress, as you start to learn and develop in your meditation. But one of the things I want to say here is it's the act of being consistent. I used to meditate previously to my 1,000 day stint. I used to meditate for years, but it was very sporadic. It was off and on. And with anything that you want to progress in, that consistency, building that habit, is the thing that's really going to get you the results. So just by starting, like I said, start today is the best time to start. And by doing that, we're starting the process of developing in our meditation and also by developing this, we're developing our mind in a way to become present. And this is something I've talked about before. I will leave a link if you want to learn about being present. And there's other techniques that we can use throughout the day to train this muscle. That's effectively what we're doing. We're training this muscle to be present. So the more that we do this, the more that we're consistent, the quicker that we're going to see some results. But that brings me on to one thing that I think is very important with meditation, and this is why probably a lot of people quit, is I would say is lower your expectations of this. You know, people often think that they're going to be meditating for a couple of weeks and then they're going to be some floating guru. You know, it just doesn't really work like that. We have to lower the importance and think of it in the long term. Think of it as I know the benefits of meditation. I know that it will enable me to be more present, to be calmer, to be more relaxed, to be less reactive in situations, because we're more aware of our mind and we're less likely to be run by that automotive process that the mind does. You know, when we're reactive, where we can become a bit more detached from situations. You know, all these different benefits that meditation provides. We have to think long term with this. So by lowering our expectations of putting a time frame on when, you know, we're going to be really seeing results in our meditation, just think of it as a long-term thing. Meditate, make it a habit to meditate every day, even if it's for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just a small amount of meditation every day. And then we're starting that process. And, you know, like I said, by being consistent with this, then we're gonna start to see results. But don't put too much emphasis on when that's going to be. I'm going to meditate for 2 weeks, otherwise I'm going to quit. You know, this sort of mindset, it doesn't really serve us. Ultimately, we want to be just thinking, we know the benefits to this. I'm going to meditate every day, and then just leave it at that. And then we will start to see results as, you know, as a byproduct of this level of consistency. But what I would say on this is that often when we start out with meditation, it often feels like we're just sitting there with our eyes closed. It doesn't really feel like much is happening. And I would just say that this is very normal. You know, we have to understand that we are training the mind in a way to be a lot more present. And especially with outer environmental influences, the way that people live their lives, you know, things like social media that are attention grabbing, that the outside environment, how our mind has been trained to operate up till now. You know, people have very short-term attention spans. So when you have that sort of a lifestyle, when there's constant distractions going on, and then you sit down and meditate, obviously it's going to be difficult. You know, you have to understand that what's going on in your outer world, if you're rushing around and you sit down and meditate and then wonder why it's more difficult, you have to, again, lower your expectation of you know, how quickly it's going to happen. And it will take a lot longer, especially if you have that sort of environment around you where there's a lot of distractions, where there's a lot of things going on, a lot of overstimulation of the mind. You know, by again starting to practice meditation is gonna help in your day-to-day activities, because you're training your mind to do that. But it's just be aware that it does take a while. It's going to be, I don't want to put a number on it because it's going to be different for each individual. But, you know, sometimes it does feel like that in the beginning. We're just sitting there meditating, and then all of a sudden you just get in this meditative state, and it will be bliss, and you'll realize that all the things that you've done up until then is what led you to that experience. But then the next day you might just have a meditation that's not very good. Again, it's just that consistent process over time that really gets the results, and then you'll consistently have better meditations as you go on. So the next thing, I mentioned environment, so it's probably a good thing to mention the environment that you're meditating in. So obviously a quiet environment is going to be favorable to that. That's why a lot of people get up early. And for me, I'm not what you would class as a morning person, although I've shifted that based on some of the things that I've done. And again, I've done another video on that. If you're not what you class as a morning person, but you want to be, then check out a video. I'll leave a link below on that, and that's how you can transition into being a morning person. That's to do with your night routine and some of the things you do to bed to program your subconscious mind to wake up in a way that's more energized, and also the way that you get up in the morning. But like I said, I used to meditate at nighttime because it was more preferable to me. I wasn't very good in the mornings, or so I thought. So I used to meditate at nighttime, and I still do that as part of my night or my evening routine nowadays, but I do that in a different way to enhance how I am in the morning. So I transitioned to meditating in the morning. One of the reasons is that it is quieter. You're getting up way before everyone else, there's less distractions, and if you have a morning routine, you do other things, again, you can incorporate it into that. But one of the things I would say on that is that sometimes within the environment, you plan to get up early, you're not used to getting up early, you're getting up at 5, 6 o'clock, whatever it is, and you think it's going to be quiet, but then there's some distraction, there's some noise outside, there's some bird doing some weird mating call right outside your window, whatever it is. But I would say that when you're meditating, sit with that. Don't have this this way of being where, I try to meditate and there's that noise, and then you get frustrated about it. Use that as training to be a better meditator, because this is life. This is what happens, and we can use that to become more present. And again, you're training the mind. Think of it in that way. And this is very useful when you go out there on your day-to-day activities, the things that are happening. If you've trained the mind in a way to be present, to be less reactive, to be more calm, to be more observational of the things that are happening out there, then that is going to serve you. And if your meditations sometimes are a bit more difficult, if there's noises or distractions going on, just sit there with it and just observe them. Just try to be more present, and that will serve you in developing how your meditation over time. So, don't get hung up on having a quiet environment, but obviously try to do that. You want to put yourself in the best training environment effectively, so you can meditate in the best way. Because ultimately what we're doing, the reason I shifted to meditating in the morning is that I saw the benefits of that. And that feeling of the meditation, you can take that throughout the rest of the day, and you're setting yourself up to win here. This is, again, it fits in with your morning routine, setting yourself up to win that state of feeling great, and you can take that throughout into the day. And you can take the benefits of being more present, being more observational, and just being a bit more, observational of the things that are happening before you react out. That you can take that feeling and this development in your meditation, you can take that throughout, into the day. So you're setting yourself up to win by meditating in the morning. But I would start consistently, like I said, and ultimately this comes back to doing what you feel works for you. There's so many people like myself talking on the internet, but you have to really tune into what works for you, and that's ultimately what's going to serve you the best. Also, I want to talk about your environment, maybe where you meditate, or some of the equipment you might use. I mean, for me, I've got this cushion here. It's like one of these sort of bean cushions. Things like this are quite useful. But before I mention anything else, none of this stuff is like I talked about, the candles, the incense, all this sort of, all these different types of equipment, things you can use. None of it is mandatory to start meditation. Just sitting there with your eyes closed, there's no excuse not to be able to start today. But as you meditate longer and longer, again, you tune into yourself, you tune into what feels, what works for you. And I just find it gives me a better posture. I'm not shifting around so much, and just things like that. It's quite useful. Also, you could use an app to track your progress. Again, you don't need to do this. It's something I did as a form of accountability, so that, you know, if I missed a day, then it would be very clear. So it gave me a level of accountability to track that progress. And there's lots of apps out there. I currently use Insight Timer, but there's plenty of meditation apps out there. But Insight Timer is quite good. I used it because it has this facility for these sorts of silent meditations, as well as guided ones as well. But for these silent meditations where you can set it up with a timer, it has incremental like bells or wooden block sort of sounds to sort of bring you back, you know, in case your mind is wandering. It's a really good sort of training to sort of bring you back to the present moment. So that's Insight Timer. Check that out if you haven't seen or haven't used that one before. But yeah, again, it doesn't really matter what you use. Just tune in, try different things, see what works for you, and ultimately just having a quiet environment, preferably, from my personal opinion, in the morning, so you're setting yourself up to win. And obviously that quiet environment is really going to serve you in your training. But like I said, don't get hung up too much on if there's some crazy noises going on, or, you know, some sort of disturbances. Just sit there in your meditation, and, you know, that's your time to be with yourself and your mind, and you're training yourself in that way. And it you know, it definitely serves you moving forward. So just stick with it, have that level of consistency. So what sort of results can you expect from this consistent level of meditating for a period of like 1,000 days or whatever it is? And like I said, really this is just a long term. Don't get hung up on the amount of days, because again, it's going to slightly vary on the results you get, depending on the person, depending on your lifestyle. You know, like I said, the things that are going on in your world and how that has an effect on your mind, how active it is. If you're have a very active mind and it's very overstimulated, that would have an effect on your meditation. But ultimately, the results of meditating for a longer period of time it's this process of training your mind, like I spoke about, and being present. And there, like I said, and there's a link down below, I've left a video of different ways to become present, and this is going to serve you as well, because as you're training your mind to be present, then you can take that out there into your day-to-day activities, and you're a lot more present, you're a lot more aware of yourself, you're a lot more aware of your thoughts, and because of that, you're less reactive, you're more observational, as I mentioned before, and this will serve you in your interactions with others, and just this increasing of self-awareness of your thoughts and the things that you're thinking. And if your self-talk is serving you, or if it's, you know, you're having a lot of negative self-talk, because obviously that is going to have an effect on you, that's going to have effect on yourself. So, you know, having this increased awareness, having this level of increasing your being more present in the present moment, these are things that are going to serve you. But also, because of this, you're going to be calmer. You know, whenever you're more present, you're a lot calmer, and you know, you can experience these higher states, these higher vibrational states. And this is something, again, if you're in a higher vibrational state, you've increased your vibrational frequency, and you're going out there into the day, you'll experience this happiness, this joy, this bliss, these sorts of feelings. You're ultimately, what you're creating in your life, you know, the result of that, your interactions with people, what you're thinking, the things that you're doing, your beliefs about yourself and beliefs about other things, your level of compassion. There's so many different areas this is going to have such a positive impact on. And also, you can build on top of this. This is something that I do. I have this silent meditation, but then I have some more advanced techniques of raising my vibration and, you know, my energy field effectively. And I use those on a daily basis. So this is, you know, I'm setting myself up to win. I'm going out there into the day with the best, with using these tools in a way that is going to serve me and have the best, you know, having the best sort of interactions, you know, the things that I'm doing, being more present, all the things that I've spoken about, and, you know, being a lot more conscious of myself, of my thoughts, of, you know, am I being present, or is the automative part of the mind, is it, you know, these automative thoughts that we have, which is a lot of our thought process is, there's a lot of automation there. It gives you this real level of awareness of there. And, you know, when you're looking into other things like, you know, what you're going to create in your life, a level of manifestation and your actions, your beliefs, a lot of this comes down to awareness of our mind and being present. So these are some of the benefits to meditating consistently over a longer period of time. And, you know, what I would say is, just going back to what I said in the beginning, is just if it's not something you've done before, just start today. If it's something that you've done for a while and you're not really seeing results, just stick with it and just use some of the things that I've mentioned in this video to just stick with it and be consistent, and play about with different tools and techniques, different equipment, different things that you can use, and different equipment, like I said. And, you know, by doing that, having that level of consistency, then that is going to serve you. It's going to serve you. You're setting yourself up to win for that day. You're training your mind in a way that has so much of a big impact on so many different areas of your life. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you on one of my next ones.